Welcome to our first ever video game power rankings here at Sifted. Our hope with this feature is to chronicle the ups and downs of video game promotion and marketing. Which games are doing big numbers on Sifted? Which games are setting social media on fire? Which games are enjoying large promotional cycles? These are the elements that we take into account when creating this list every month. Rankings will be fluid. Some games may stay on the list for months, while others may come and go based on new trailers being released, poor response to demos or early access, and a number of other factors. So here we go with our first ever video game power rankings for March 2024. The lack of PlayStation 5 exclusives has caused some games to bubble up that normally wouldn't. There's a little bit of that going on with Helldivers 2, but there's a whole lot of it going on with Stellar Blade. This hack-and-slash action RPG from Korea has all the TNA to send the preteens running and anime aesthetics and tropes to keep them entranced once they get there. Korea's rating board also boosted its profile by rating it adults only for sexual and violent content. Just this week, a surprisingly competent demo was accidentally posted to the PlayStation Store that's sending this game's profile to another level. Hideo Kojima is working on more projects than ever right now, but the one that most people have zeroed in on is Death Stranding 2. While the first Death Stranding is a polarizing game thanks to Kojima's usual skullduggery, some odd imagery, and rather mundane delivery gameplay, the hope is that this sequel will have a little bit more action and a lot more coherence in its plot. This concept is bolstered by the recent release of a gigantic 10-minute overview trailer that seems to hint at major changes to the tone and gameplay loop. Love him or hate him, Hideo Kojima is one game developer we all can't seem to look away from. It's now been 11 years since the last BioShock game was released. In that time, no other developer has stepped up to fill its retro-futuristic void. There's simply no other video game franchise quite like it, so it comes as no surprise that its creator's new game is almost a carbon copy. Judas is under development by BioShock creator Ken Levine at his new studio, and until recently, we weren't exactly sure it was following in those hollowed footsteps. Now, we've received a trailer that shows the first look at gameplay, and all doubt is laid to rest. For all intents and purposes, Judas is BioShock 4. Levine has talked about story choices working like narrative Legos, and while we don't see that in the latest trailer, the concept is intriguing. Hollow Knight Silksong was originally supposed to be DLC for Hollow Knight. That was over 7 years ago. 5 years ago, it was announced that it would be its own game and would launch in 2022. Now, here we are 2 years after that, and the game still hasn't been released. Making things more confusing, Microsoft announced early last year that it would launch on Game Pass last June. That deadline rolled by without a single comment from the game's developers or Microsoft. At this point, Silksong has almost become an urban legend. A game that we all think really exists, but there isn't much evidence saying it actually does. Will it ever be released? Will it be great like the first game when it does? The intrigue lands it at number 7 this month. We've known for quite some time that Bethesda is working on an Indiana Jones game, but when the studio is purchased by Microsoft, it's fair to wonder if it might become a casualty and end up cancelled. Thankfully, that is not the case. The first real trailer for the game looks to have all the prerequisites for a great romp through Indy's exploits. Whip combat? Check. Adventuring around dusty tombs? Check. Whip-smart comedy and one-liners? Check. Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones? It has that too. So while the game is literally checking all the boxes, the most pleasant surprise is that it's releasing in the not-too-distant future, bumping it up in our power rankings a spot or two. It's now been a decade since Dragon Age Inquisition launched, which is a huge chunk of time for BioWare and EA's action RPG cash cow to be out of action. While we've received plenty of art and a handful of trailers for Dragon Age Dreadwolf, we still haven't seen the game in action. Some early access footage has leaked from a couple years ago that doesn't look great, but it's only built the intrigue around it. So you may be asking yourself how and why it's ended up in the 5th slot in our power rankings. That's because it recently slipped out that EA is confident the game will launch this year. This lines up with a previous announcement from EA that the game will be blown out for the first time this summer. The dam is finally about to break on Dragon Age Dreadwolf. A lot of people have forgotten that Insomniac is working on a Wolverine video game. And for good reason, they're too busy enjoying the excellent Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Then, Insomniac gets hacked, and tons of information about Marvel's Wolverine is revealed, including a playable demo. all the hack and demo does is make us even more excited for the game because it's already easy to see it's far along in development and right on target to hit Insomniac's sky-high standards. It's already in a good place, and it has months and months of polish left to make it shine. As BioWare begins to wrap up Dragon Age Dreadwolf, it turns its attention to the next Mass Effect. Rumors have swirled that the game may not launch until 2029, but that makes no logical sense. The game's been in pre-production for years, and we've already received a couple teaser trailers. The smart money is on it releasing much sooner, and back in November, we received yet another teaser trailer for N7 Day. But even beyond its anticipated release, this game means much more than the next entry in the franchise. A lot of fans were not happy with Mass Effect Andromeda and wonder if the franchise has lost its way. There's a lot at stake, and you care. If you ask us for our dream video game scenarios, Ubisoft's Star Wars Outlaws is pretty damned close. When it launches later this year, it will be the first ever open-world Star Wars video game, providing the freedom to hop in a ship or ground transportation to go anywhere you damn well please and do whatever the hell you want. It will also be an action RPG where you get to shape the abilities of your character as you rub elbows with some of the franchise's most iconic characters and settings. Would we be even more excited if it starred characters from the original trilogy? Probably. But this nitpick isn't stealing our sunshine one bit. We couldn't be more excited for a video game, and based on the data, neither could you. Rockstar gave us quite the Christmas present when it released the first ever trailer for Grand Theft Auto VI in December. Since then, journalists and YouTubers have tried to squeeze every last frame for information on the game, while Rockstar sits back and laughs. Initial rumors pointed to it launching this year, but the trailer proves that theory incorrect. It's coming in 2025. Until then, Rockstar will undoubtedly begin trickling out new information and media, explaining more about its dual protagonists and Vice City setting. Needless to say, we'll all be hanging on every word. When a story claiming that Rockstar is making all its developers return to the office is one of the most read articles of the week, you know you're dealing with a juggernaut. It will be tough for another game to knock GTA 6 out of the top slot until it launches. That'll do it for our first ever monthly video game power rankings. As we said in the open, these rankings are fluid and will change month to month based on a number of factors. So while your most anticipated game may not have made the cut in March, all it takes is a trailer or a new piece of information to change everything. If you like this show or any of our other shows, head to patreon.com/sifted and give us a pledge if you can. And also let us know your top pick for the power rankings below. We'll see you in April.